Live to the US now. Naval Intelligence Officer, former Naval Intelligence Officer John Jordan joins us. Well, surprise, surprise, it has moved to the next stage in the House. Donald Trump means what? There could be a vote before Christmas, and will it be consequential?
Well, two things to watch here. What are the articles of impeachment being drawn up? I think it goes without saying that the Democrats have been trying to impeach President Trump since he was elected. And all you have to do is look at clips of all these different Democrats that are beating this drum so hard right now. They've been saying this since November of 2016. Now, what to watch here? There are 31 Democrats that were elected in 2018 by razor-thin margins in districts carried by Donald Trump. Now, the Democrats bet when they launched these hearings that they were going to be able to drive down President Trump's approval numbers and not only make those Democrats feel safe in those Trump districts to vote for impeachment, but they thought they were going to pick off some Republicans. That clearly hasn't worked. All you have to do is look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls, and you see that President Trump's numbers are stable, if not growing slightly. So will Speaker Pelosi be able to bring along enough of these 31 Democrats from these Trump districts to vote for impeachment, or will they be too afraid to do so because they won so narrowly in those red places a year and a half ago? So that's going to be interesting to see. The second thing is, what exactly are they going to try to impeach him for? Now, the scholars that were on parade yesterday that testified before the House Judiciary Committee, most of them were Democrat donors, and the Republicans were not allowed really to cross-examine them. Now, as we move into a Senate trial, assuming that the Democrats are able to muster on a partisan basis a majority, the trial in the Senate will be conducted by Republicans. You'll see very different witnesses and far more aggressive cross-examination of the witnesses against the president, which you did not see in the House because it was so tightly controlled by the Democrats to promote a certain media narrative. So it's going to be a very interesting time. And you have a couple of Democrat senators who are running for president who are going to be stuck in the Senate in this trial. No Democrat candidate for president is going to be able to get much airtime because all of the media oxygen is being sucked out of this. So this has a spillover effect in the Democrat primary for their presidential nomination.
Well, I mean, as far as I can tell, John, so he will be impeached, but when it goes to the Senate, that's where it will ultimately be unsuccessful. But how damaging is that label for his brand heading into that election next year?
Not really. The American public, and survey after survey has borne this out, see this in a partisan way. The Democrats see it one way, the Republicans see it another way. So there really isn't going to be any net movement. Yeah, it's a big deal in the media world, but the American public has pretty much made up its mind about this. Now, I don't think it's necessarily a foregone conclusion that the Democrats will have the votes to actually impeach. I think they probably do, but there may be a surprise there because some of these Democrats in those Trump districts may balk at this, depending on which articles of impeachment are drawn up and how this plays out in the coming weeks. But in the trial for the Senate, that is actually going to be good for President Trump because that's going to be basically a forum for him to do his rebuttal case, and the Democrats won't be able to control it. So the Democrats have kind of hit their high water mark with their messaging and their ability to control the media narrative. And now it's going to shift into the hands of those vulnerable Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate.
What has been a bit of a seesaw is the China trade war. Donald Trump really sent markets into a bit of a spin the other day where he was the most pessimistic about any kind of deal being done. Now, he keeps on saying publicly that he doesn't need to do a deal by the election, by the end of 2020. But what's the political reality, John?
Well, President Trump's fortunes in 2020 really do rise and fall with the economy. The American economy is not showing any signs of weakness. So President Trump's hand with regard to the Chinese is strengthened. Now, President Trump made these comments largely, keep in mind it's a game of brinksmanship with the Chinese. And President Trump is, I think, playing it well, is using the fact that the American economy is strong and saying to the Chinese, hey, I don't really need a deal because, keep in mind, the Chinese economy is really, really taking a big hit here. So I think what you're seeing is a negotiating ploy. But the longer the American economy continues to go well and those economic risks subside in 2020, the less President Trump does actually need a deal.
Okay.